Okay, welcome back. I hope all your math has been going great. And if you're watching this tutorial, you might need some help on how to find the equation of lines that pass through given points that are perpendicular. Yes, perpendicular, and also which are parallel. Yeah, those are some humdingers sometimes. Perpendicular and parallel. All right, to another point or another line G. Now, you find a lot of this in calculus textbooks, algebra textbooks, algebra 2 books, pre-calculus books, even on the ACT, because this is a very fundamental thing that you need to know about lines. How to identify perpendicular and parallel. You also see it in geometry, by the way. Well, to do this, it goes down to one principle. And I've said this in my other tutorials about lines. Lines, the key thing to figure out in order to find an equation of a line is you have to be able to identify, all right, the slope and the point. So to find the equation of a line, you need to identify the slope and you need to know a point. All right, and that's an N symbol, just so you know. That's abbreviation for point. All right, so what do we got here? Well, we have an equation of a line. And the lines we're trying to do is we're trying to find two of them. We're trying to find one that's perpendicular, this line, and one that is parallel to this line because it's G. All right, so we're looking for two different equations. We need to know the slope now, and we need to know the point. Well, we actually know the point. The point we are given, each line passes through this one given point, which is negative 2, 2. All right, so we have our point, negative 2, 2. Now the question is, what is it going to be? All right, for the perpendicular one, what's the slope? All right, and what's the parallel one? So slope, I'm going to go like this for perpendicular. That's a perpendicular symbol. And then our slope, which is parallel, I'm going to go like that to G. All right, so to find our slope, the key thing is identify what's the slope of G. That's it. You have to know the slope of G to figure out the slope of these two other lines. Now, what are the slope of G? Well, this is in general form. So if you watch my other tutorial, the key thing in order to find this one is we have to put this, solve for y, put in the slope-intercept form. All right, because the slope is always next to the coefficient x when y is by itself, when it's in slope-intercept form. All right, so we're going to go through, and we're going to find that. I'm going to use a different color. So this one's not too bad. We got y, we're going to subtract 2x to the other side. We got plus 4. There we go. So the key thing is we have to identify the slope. Slope is next to the x. That's our slope. Do not write negative 2x. That's not our slope. Negative 2 is the slope of G. All right, so that's the slope of line G. Negative 2. So what does that mean? Well, first off, if we have a point, and these two lines are passing through the same point, well, what's the slope of the perpendicular one? Well, if you recall, perpendicular slopes are opposite reciprocals of each other. Opposite reciprocals or negative reciprocals, however you want to say it, they're the same thing. Slopes of perpendicular lines are opposite reciprocals. So what does that mean? Well, what's the opposite of negative 2? Well, 2. Divided by by the reciprocal, which would make it 1/2. And that's the slope of the perpendicular line. Parallel lines have equal slopes. All right, so slope 1, if they're parallel, slope 1 will equal slope 2. They are the same thing. So this one, the slope is just going to equal negative 2 because the slope, rise and run, doesn't change. So what is the equation of each one of these? Well, the perpendicular line, G, is going to be, I'm going to put this in point slope form, y equals 1/2 x minus, or x1, or this is x1, v plus 2. So this is point slope form, plus 2. And there we have it. If you want to simplify this, you can distribute this through. You get 1/2, because slope intercept form. 1/2 times 2 is 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. My x. So that would be y equals 1/2 x plus 3 if you wanted to slope intercept form. That's perpendicular. That line right there. The other one's going to be parallel. Well, the parallel line, we're going to take our -2, our slope. We have x plus 2, because we're going to use our same point. Doesn't change. We can simplify this. Just read this through. So we have -2x. We'll have -4 plus 2 is going to be -2. That's our parallel line. Okay, perpendicular, opposite reciprocal slope, parallel. Okay. Use the same point, and there we have it. Easy, right? Well, let's try some harder ones. Here, I want to find the equation of a line passed through P and is perpendicular and parallel to G. All right. Well, once again, we have to know our slope and our point. The excuse me, the point we have is -5, 1. Now, to figure out the perpendicular and parallel, remember we're going to need to figure out this one. Now, this is their equation. And this is where students get really, really baffled. This is the equation x equals -2. X equals -2, what type of line is that? This is not the one that not similar to the one that we saw in the previous slide. This one had a slope easy, it was in slope-intercept form. This one has x equals -2. What would happen if we try to draw this one? X equals -2 means, well, whatever value I plug in for x, I get out -2. Or actually, x always equals -2, so actually that means x always equals -2, so -2, that means whatever y is, I'm going to put a negative side. This is actually a vertical line. X equals -2, and I probably should use a different color. There we go. X equals -2. This is what's known as a vertical line. Vertical lines, they keep on rising, but they have no run. So essentially, this is a slope of a number over 0. Well, a number over 0, you just can't do that. That's my number notation, just so everybody knows. All right, so what happens here is that our slope is what we refer to as undefined. Excuse me. Well, that means, going over here, well, undefined slope means that our parallel line, it has to be parallel to that. So once again, we have undefined slope here. So how do we write that? Well, it's just x equals, well, whatever x value is. In this case, is -5. All right, well, what's the opposite reciprocal of an undefined slope? Well, one that's perpendicular to that, the slope of our perpendicular line is going to be 0, because you have to take the opposite and flip this. So you have 0 over a number. All right, 0 over a number. Okay, so our slope here is 0. So that would be y equals 0 times x plus 5 plus 1, which would just be y equals 1. A horizontal line. Oh, okay. So through these two, through this point, -5, 1, we have a horizontal line for our perpendicular to this line. And then we'll just have another vertical line for the one that's parallel. And just to show you this, let me just draw this out. So our horizontal line would be through 1. You can see that would be perpendicular. Perpendicular means it's going to create a 90-degree angle. And then we'll have at -5, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can see that this, to draw it correctly, is going to be parallel to this one right here. All right. So, figuring this out, we have equations of lines that are perpendicular and parallel. Perpendicular, you're looking for opposite reciprocal slopes. Parallel lines will have the same slope. When you have vertical lines, this is a tough one. Vertical lines have undefined slopes, so its perpendicular partner is a zero slope. Vertical lines also have an equation of x equals. Just to go, let's just do one more of that kind of caliber, because I know it can get confusing. Because this is one where we have actually, if you look at this, we have a horizontal line, y equals 4. This is what's known as a horizontal line. Horizontal line. All right, horizontal line. So if we want to find one that passes through this, once we need to find a slope in our point. All right, so our point is -1 and 1/2. Our slope, well, perpendicular to G, would be opposite reciprocal of this. Well, our slope here at G is 0. So what is the opposite reciprocal of 0? Well, that is undefined. So when you graph this one, I'm just going to graph G. All right, line G is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a horizontal line. That's line G. Perpendicular, we would have x equals, all right, what's our x equal? -1. So x equals -1. That would be perpendicular to G. You can see it would be. All right, x equals is a vertical line. Once again, this is vertical. X equals is vertical. They need to write that down. You need to know that. All right, that's a vertical line. It has an undefined slope. It has no slope. Parallel, well, parallel means they have the same slope. So what's the parallel line? Well, that means it has a slope of 0. So we have y equals 0 times x plus 1, because remember, these are point slope form. All right, plus 1/2. We can simplify this. We have y equals 1/2. Oh, so 1/2, about right there. Let me get my red again. All right, so that's x equals -1. This is y equals 1/2. And you can see that these two are parallel to G. And this is perpendicular. And there you have it. Create a horizontal line, y equals, and a vertical is x. Okay, well, once again, finding perpendicular and parallel. Went through several different concepts with this. Very helpful in geometry, pre-calc, any math, all right, or algebra class you take. Hope this helps you out. Good luck and God bless on your homework and the rest of your studies.